All right, thank you all for watching Competing in Cornfields. I'm here with Connor Jorgenson. So Connor, do you have any thoughts about this last pay-per-view at UFC 261?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. It was pretty crazy. The entire main card was absolutely bonkers. Um, my biggest takeaway is probably that Kamaru Usman is. I think he's probably the second best welterweight of all time. I think that's probably like, at least in my opinion, it's not. That's not a very big hot take. I know there's
Mm-hmm.
Matt Hughes and he's like a, legend in his own right, but I think the resume that Kamaru has.
You think it's GSP Kamaru?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that, man, if he fights Colby again in a rematch, and then he fights like Leon or Wonder Boy or whatever, and he like put together and he keeps finishing people the way he does, dude. He used to like grind out wins like that Jorge fight he just had before Gilbert, but then he beat Gilbert, he beat Colby, he beat Jorge, like sleeping dudes, sleeping. If he keeps doing that, putting dudes away like
Yeah.
that, he can. I mean, that's what GSP. He was finishing people in the
He's
earlier
being very
part.
safe.
Yeah.
Being safe.
Yeah, the later part in his career, he was very takedown heavy. Very
Some would say
grinded out.
boring.
Some would say. Some would say. And I think that Kamaru, in the earlier parts of his career, leading up to him being the champ, you could say he was sort of following that same model. But
For sure.
his later fights, these last strings of wins, he's putting it on. I think that's a testament to the evolution of his game. And then he's now training with Trevor Whitman, which is he's a great coach. I think he's putting pieces together. He's got a good group of people over there. He's got Rose. He's got Justin Gaethje, Kamaru now. He's probably. I mean, that's a good guy to be under. So
Yeah.
I think he's super good.
Yeah, I mean, he's only going to get better. And
Mhm.
yeah, that was a card where, like, I do remember, like, what happened on every single fight.
Yeah.
Normally, I remember what happened, but, like, we can recall it,
Yeah.
just right out of our back pocket because
Mhm.
everything was memorable.
Yeah.
Normally, you have, a couple decisions
Mhm.
that are kind of, yeah,
Yeah.
I remember it, but it's kind of whatever.
And that was the first card that had people in attendance too, and it was in Florida, but that was the first. It was capacity. I think it was like 15,000 people or something like that. And to have that card, those three title fights, they all ended in stoppage, and they're all like just bangers. And then like Rose beat Weili Zhang, head kicked her. I thought that going into it after Weili's fight with Ioana, I didn't think that. I thought she was gonna kind of. Now I look so dumb thinking this, but I thought she was gonna beat Rose.
So did I.
I just didn't think that, like, dude, if she can walk through Ioana's punches like that and just kind of walk her down and just have that war. I didn't know what Rose was gonna do to her, but I know she beat Ioana twice and stuff.
Mhm.
But I mean, my math never adds up.
No, yeah, I know. I was actually, like, saying to some people, like, thoughts and prayers with Rose, like, please don't hurt Rose,
Yeah,
stuff like
right.
that. Like, well, that wasn't necessary at all.
No, and I know she made some like the communist comments,
Mhm.
and I don't know every detail about that, but man, it's crazy that she said that and then she just went out and beat her. But I know
Yeah.
that was kind of taken out of context. I know she said that in the post fight interview that she didn't like mean that anyway towards like Weili. She just, and I think that she's like from Lithuania and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a personal matter. To her.
Right.
But
Yeah.
no, she kicked her dome off. I know like Weili came out, protested the win. Like she got up
Yeah.
right away. Not right away, but once the fight was over, she was like, "What the, what?"
She was, like, attacking the ref, too.
I know, but
like,
she just didn't remember where she was at
Yeah.
or like what happened. But she was out absolutely cold. It was
Yeah.
She was out cold. And speaking of out cold, when Jorge got dropped, he was knocked out on the floor, and then Kamaru hit him. But like before we started hitting him, Jorge came back, like he like woke up, and then he got knocked out again. Like the punches, like the last punch, like knocked out. He got knocked out twice. That was a pretty late stoppage, I thought, me personally. But
Oh, shoot. I might need to watch that again. Do you think it was, like, just it took a little while for the ref to get there?
it might have. But I felt like Herb. I think it was Herb Dean that was reffing that fight. I think he like they always sort of allow like one or two TKO punches just to like make sure, I guess, like it gets finished. But it felt like he just let him do it like one too many, and maybe he tried to, and they always get off like a couple more. But I thought it was pretty late. I feel like he could have probably stepped in if he wanted to.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not like it doesn't happen. You know,
Yeah.
it's not that Herb's fault either, or Kamaro's. I mean, they're super necessary, I guess.
Super necessary once again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's see. Oh yeah, I wanted to bring up the fights on like May 15th or whatever. You were supposed to face Brandon Trout,
Yeah.
the 125 belt. Do you care to expand on what happened there?
Yeah, I was supposed to fight for the flyweight belt after Jason Scott vacated. He's gonna go pro, so that's pretty tight. Good for him.
Yeah, shout out to Jason Scott.
Yeah. Put it on me when we fought. So, shout out to him for doing that. No, I was supposed to fight for that belt, and that was awesome. It was a great opportunity, but in reality, I'm not fighting for it anymore. I chose not to compete, and as much as I don't really like to, say I'm going to fight and then not, I just probably shouldn't have agreed to the fight in the first place. So that's on me for doing that. I had my last fight, I think like in January, something like that. I can't remember, but I won and whatnot.
3-fight win streak.
3-fight win streak, so that's cool. And then I beat Jesse Farabee, which was a good win. Won the first round, but I didn't do any training after that. I worked out like a couple times, but I didn't go back to the, LBJJ where I train. Cause I just didn't really have the passion for it. I didn't really have the drive to train and to compete at that time. And then, I got offered the fight, and I was like, well, maybe this will, jumpstart, my drive again, and I'll, try to get into it. But I just didn't. I was forcing myself to go to the gym, forcing myself to go to training and stuff. And, like, after one practice, I was like, I'm just going in over my head with my preparation and stuff, and I'm just not ready. And I remember, like, thinking back on it, after my last fight, I won, and it was relatively easy. Like, easy per se. Like, he had me in a bad spot, but, I won via stoppage in the first round, so that was cool. But I remember being in, like, the car with my girlfriend, and I kept, like a sigh of relief. And she was like, what? And I was like, I'm just, like, happy that it's over. And I was also happy that I won, but I also, like I said, happy that I just didn't have to do it anymore. Like, the process was done. And I think that, like, that, like, a line can get blurred on whether or not I'm more happy that it was over than I was happy that I had won. And, that could probably turn into me thinking that I'd be happy that it was over when I lost. And if I'm okay with losing, then, I probably needed to, like, reevaluate. So, if that's how I was feeling, I just need to take a step back and not compete and kind of just get, I still have a love for the sport, but just competing right now and all that, I just don't got it in me. But I'm not done fighting, per se. I'm just, waiting to get that spark back. So, whenever that may be. I'm a young guy, so it'll come back, but who knows?
For sure. And like Joe Rogan says, like, if you're going to fight, you better, like, wake up and, like, eat, breathe, and sleep it and be so ready, because the other person is.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And there are terrible consequences.
Yeah.
If you don't, and things like that. So, yeah, definitely got to be wary of that.
And that's what I would think too. Is like, I never I'll be thinking like, oh, is my opponent thinking this? Is he feeling the same way? But I would never want to bank on my opponent having a bad night. I would just want to expect them to have to be at their best. And if they're at their best and I'm not, then I probably shouldn't put myself in a position to lose or to not compete well. So.
Well, yeah, for sure. There are crazy consequences with MMA.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you got to be all out or all in. Yeah. So no.
But the card is still really good. I was happy just to be on it, and the fights that they have on there. They have the main event. I was super hyped for because I like both Tony Ortega and Nate Morrow. I think that's gonna be a really banger fight. And then they have Tanner Wanch and Troy McCune.
That's gonna be great.
That's gonna be a really good one. I like both guys. I train with Tanner, and then I've seen Troy around the gym around town. So I know he's like kind of making him a name for himself, like in the amateur scene, because he puts on great fights. He comes to fight.
Yeah, every time.
Mm-hmm. And I think that maybe technical wise, Tanner might match up better than him. But I think that one thing that Troy's gonna bring to the table is like the dog in him. You know, he comes to like to fight, and he's like willing to take one to give one, like a punch. So I think that you know, if it becomes a war, then you might favor Troy. But you know, if Tanner can keep it, you know, if he can implement his game, he could get it done.
Yeah, no, and I expect there to be a little bit of talking during the fight.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I've seen any like before, which I kind of expected.
Yeah.
You know, maybe we still have a few weeks, so.
I know Troy's been like posting some memes and stuff trying to like get at Tanner, but Tanner just doesn't play like that. Tanner's like strictly business. So he'll just probably do his talking in the cage. But I know Troy's he's gonna try probably get in his head and start talking.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that works. Because I remember like Tanner and Brett Minner had a little back and forth, and then Brett looked super good in the first round. I think whenever they were fighting, and then Tanner was able to finish that one.
I know. I think that was Tanner's like third fight, which is a big step in competition because Brett is like super experienced. He trains with a really good team too. Big brother Derek Minner, being a UFC fighter and all. And Brady Minner,
of course,
a pro fighter, and he's got like just super experience as well. So big step up for Tanner, but he had to overcome some adversity with that one. I remember they didn't like. I know Brett tried to like shake his hand afterwards, and like Tanner wasn't about it. But now they train together. Now they're like tight, so it's pretty fun.
Yeah, that's what's good about MMA. And then like you mentioned that like you were so young, and like you're like 23. That's pretty dang young. And then, so I was wondering, like, how did you get started fighting, like, at 18 or so?
Yeah.
And were you training at the time?
I had my first fight at 18. I was training at the time for sure. I think I got into, like, the sport, like, I used to watch, like, funny enough, I used to watch, like, WWE and stuff. And then, so when Brock Lesnar came over, I was like, oh, that's cool. I recognize that cat. So I watched him. And then, I just watched, like, as I started watching him, I watched, like, my bubble started to, like, expand. I watched more and more and became fans of other fighters. And then, like, I found a place in Norfolk. My mom found a place in Norfolk where I'm from to train. So I started doing that, like, the beginning or so of my junior.
Where was that at?
Norfolk, Nebraska.
Or,
it was this place, the coach is Brooks Boyer, who is, like, a pioneer in Nebraska MMA, but they call it the scrapyard. There's a group of guys and gals too. There's some girls there that trained and they fought and stuff. But that's where I first started, and I did some wrestling in high school a little bit because when I first like started training, I knew I wanted to do it. I didn't know if I was gonna be like that's just what I like wanted. You know, I was like, oh, I'll probably do this, and then I want to fight, but I didn't know if I was gonna be good enough. You know. Because you know, I think it's it does probably look hard on TV, but I think people don't realize how hard like the training is, and especially how hard the fight actually is until you actually do it. So I think I kind of bit off more than I chewed, and then before my first fight, and then the training. But yeah, I did some wrestling in high school, and then right after I turned 18, I think in September. I had my first fight in Omaha, and I won, but not with a lack of overcoming adversity, so it was pretty tough. Against Carlos Willard. So he's pretty good. He had me in like a triangle and arm bar. He had me mounted and stuff, and then I ended up finishing the fight. But yeah, that was a tough fight. Tougher than I thought it was going to be, because I'm really dumb, and I thought it was going to be like, oh, I thought it was going to be easy. I think I had a couple yes men around me. They were like, yeah, dude, you got him. He's not big. He's not strong. I was like, oh,
right.
Word?
Was that at OFC?
No, my first two fights were at Dynasty. I won those two. My second fight was against Abel Babuli, and that was a 3-round fight. That was in Columbus. And then my next two were for OFC because they were both in Norfolk, and my coach was from Norfolk, and we had a bunch of I was still living in Norfolk and training there at the time, and so they asked like the car was pretty much centered around like us local fighters, and they're trying to like give us a good push. But that was my first loss was there against a dude named Ricky Avila. We were both 2-0, and the fight kind of felt pretty big, like two undefeated like prospects and stuff. But he beat the shite out of me for like 3 rounds, so that was pretty cool. I think like in the beginning of the end of the first round, like he dropped me and he got my guard, and I had him in an armbar, and it was so straight. But the sound, like the buzzer went, and at the end of the round, I was like, oh, damn, that was probably my shot. And then he just came out and kept dropping me and beating me up. So I was like, damn, this sucks.
Was so like at that time was like OFC like a pretty legit
I thought
place?
So, but I know that was when they were doing a lot of events. I know they haven't done I don't think they've done one for a while. But at the time, I thought that they were like pretty good, and I think that Tim Bazer's the guy that runs it.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good guy. I just don't. I think I don't want to come off and say like anything rude, but I would trust the people at Dynasty to like put on the fights and work for it more than I would the people at OFC. And that sounds like I'm making excuses because those are my two first losses, but it was just like I think. One of the people that I fought against for them like came in overweight, and they didn't tell me until like after the fight, and I was like, oh well, that makes
thanks.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So that was cool. But in reality, like they're fine, and they put on fights and stuff. So, and I think it's professional enough to where nothing's really shady that goes on, and people don't like get hurt. More
right.
So I think it's fine. But I just, if I had to choose, I would just stay with Dynasty or venture out and try somebody else like MCF or whatnot.
Yeah, no, I used to go to Omaha Fight Club in high school.
Oh really?
And I graduated high school in 2011. So like we would go to Carr Lake, Iowa, and I worked at McDonald's at the time. And one of my guys who I worked with at McDonald's was going to fight.
Oh yeah.
And then so like right before like he was to walk out or whatever, they said he was too drunk, and I was like, oh no.
Was he drinking?
I don't know. I didn't talk to him.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would assume so.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If he's like I talked to him at McDonald's like the next week. And he's like, yeah, man, I had one margarita. I was like,
yeah, right.
I'm
How
pretty
strong was it? How strong is that margarita?
And you have one of those ones with like the 2 giant Coronas in it or something like that.
Yeah, one of those long drinks you get at Vegas.
Yeah. Oh yeah. One of the ones that's like as tall as me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. I remember the first. I think it was the first fight I had for OFC. There was a dude that fought and won basketball shorts, and I was like, that's not. You don't wear those. Like, just order a pair of or just wear like compression shorts or something. What are you doing, dude? They're just like hang past his knees.
Yeah.
I think he got beat for sure. He got beat. There are a couple characters that fought that fight for that organization. But I mean, in reality, they're just it's just entertainment. So if they put on fights and whatnot, then that's what they're there for.
For sure. And I went to OFC a few more times in high school, and everything was like legit.
Yeah.
And like it was legit for them to not let him fight, assuming he was drunk.
Yeah.
So that's good.
I know that I've had teammates and stuff fight for them. I know some good fighters have fought there and whatnot. So it's not like a joke by any means. I just think that you'll find for one really good fighter there, there's a couple that probably shouldn't be fighting, but they gotta fill the card type of thing. And that's just my opinion. But
right. And that's good that you said that you had trained before your first MMA fight.
Yeah.
I was listening to an old podcast with Matt Brown, and he was saying oh yeah, I didn't train before my first 3 fights or something like that, and then the person was laughing at him you know what, that's not super uncommon.
No.
You know, I mean, especially with us who know a lot of people and are watching the amateur circuit.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's not that uncommon.
I trained for 2 years before my first one, and that was probably the minimum amount that you should have. I think that when I go to fights that I compete in or that I hear about, and somebody says, like, you tell them like what gym you're fighting out of, and if they say fighting independently, like they fight on their own, that's free. If somebody fights me and they're training independently, they're like training on their own in like their garage or something, that's free. Give me that fight, because you have to be getting better. You have to have like a legit gym, a coach, training partners, in my opinion, to keep like getting better, to keep like learning new skills. And if you're just training with a group of guys and just doing like road work and stuff, that's just not gonna cut it. Not in this sport, I don't think. So if you train independently, get a good gym.
Yeah, unless you're like some kind of crazy freak from like Missouri or Iowa who like is just a freak and you know what I mean, can fight his butt off no matter what.
Right. But some like there's one like that, you'll definitely knock a couple dudes out or whatnot, but someone's gonna catch up to you. But if you're like a good athlete and like a really good wrestler, like I think wrestling is probably the best martial art if like to get into MMA, like above all the other ones. Because I think if you can dictate like where the fight goes, like on the ground or not go on the ground, if you have good wrestling, you probably have good wrestling like takedown defense. If you keep the standing, if you want it, or take them down where you want it, that's the best martial art. But if you're really good like a wrestler in college or like high school and you want to get in MMA, I think that you could probably have some success in the amateur scene, but eventually you're gonna have to find like a gym and to somebody to mold the other parts into your game. But that's just my opinion. I've seen like enough people on the amateur scene that don't have a gym or don't train properly, and just like they don't find much success.
Yeah, no, I hear that. And then so you've had a variety of wins, submission, like punches, stuff like that, and including some decisions. That's okay. So like if you can stay, or like my old wrestling coach used to say, like if you can like stay in the match the whole time, you have a super good chance of winning.
Yeah.
You think there's something special that like will keep you in the match? Is there something special that keeps you in the fight?
Well, I think, I've got like I think 4 decision wins, and I know like I think of it this way, that if they're gonna pair me up, my opponent can be like around my weight, my size, like my height or whatever, and skill wise, we're gonna probably have to be about equal, right? They're not gonna give many people mismatches. So all I can control is me working out, training, and being in really good shape. I can't control what he's gonna do. Like I can try to like implement my game in the fight and whatnot, and look for a finish. I always try to get the finish, but as long as I put in the work before the fight and am in shape, then I have a good shot at winning, because I believe in my skills and whatnot. And if I know that I can go the distance, then I feel like I have a good shot at winning. Because I always feel like I have, I have a lot of finishes. I have 10 wins and 6 of them are finishes. So I feel like I can put someone away, whether that's, I only have 1 TKO win, so that kind of sucks. But I did kind of head kick my dude's head off in my last fight, so that was kind of cool. But I always feel like I have the ability to finish the fight, but I also don't want to like rely on that. I want to be in shape and ready to go all 3 rounds. And if I can do that and be ready, whatever else happens, it's just how the fight plays out. But as long as I'm prepared to go all 3, then I feel like I have a good chance of winning, in my opinion.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, no, if you're still there in the 3rd round, like anything can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
I think it takes a lot of heart too, because like the 3rd round is like you have to be, even people that are in really good shape, like get tired.
If it's not going their way, they might be like, or I heard Jimmy Smith, commentator for Bellator, UFC, all kinds of people, but he was saying like as soon as a fighter like basically, all right, let's say that like we're in a fight and you might be winning, but you're not like you're going to win the fight, but you're not going to hurt me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like
and
you're
then
coasting.
it's like a little agreement. You know
right,
what I mean?
Right.
So you're not gonna hurt me, so I'm going to stay in the fight.
Yeah. Right.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know. Like you're
Yeah.
going to win, but
Right. Right. And some people like will try to coast if they know they're gonna win, and that takes some skill as well. You know. But I just feel like if you're at like, I've been in like really good shape, and for some of my fights, or like I like to think in all of them, but the ones that go the distance, I've known I've had have good cardio, but even still like you're certainly not feeling the way you were in round 1 or round 2, and especially like if you're like using your arms like in a submission or putting the hands on them, your arms just get fatigued so easily, and it's harder to keep your hands up and stuff. So it's easy to like to succumb to like the tiredness. And I remember not my last fight, but the fight prior to that, like in the 3rd round, he got on top of me, and he was kind of raining down some elbows. I had him in a triangle, but he got out of it, and that was just like, I was like, man, I just need to get through this because I think I'm gonna, I think I got the decision. But man, it was just like, I just had to like get through the round and just try to get the position that favors me the most. But man, it's tough when you're really tired. But as long as I feel like I do the work before the fight, and I'm in really good shape, I feel like I have a good chance of winning. So that's kind of like the mindset that I keep.
For sure, as long as you're there in the 3rd round, you can win.
Yeah.
And
And they're gonna be tired too.
Oh yeah.
They're gonna be tired too. Like it's not. If you guys are both going back and forth, like even if he's putting it on you, like and he's beating me up or whatever, that takes a lot of energy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, being on top or pushing the action takes a lot of energy. So in the 3rd round, you're more than likely both gonna be pretty tired. So whoever has the heart or the drive to really finish the round. Because I remember Nick Honstein was coaching me once, or he cornered me in a lot of my fights. But like it was going to the 3rd round, it was pretty close, and he was like, you either need to hurt him or you need to finish him. He's like, what are you gonna do? He's like, well, I want to win. He's like, well, go win then. And I came out and kind of put it on him and got the split decision win. So that was pretty tight. But sometimes like it's about being in good shape, but also just really wanting it.
Yeah.
And just doing your best, to put it on him, in any way that you can, whether on the feet or on the ground.
Yeah, and then like maybe even if they've had like 2 10-8 rounds in a row,
yeah,
and they look at you and you're still there,
yeah,
they might have been punching like at 80% for those 2 rounds, and they don't have much gas left.
Oh, and it can be defeating too. Like if you like put it on somebody. And like you're trying to like get them out of the fight, try to finish them, and they're just still there. You're like, well, what more can I do? Like you're just still here, like a zombie, So that can be defeating too. You can kind of catch them by surprise if they're, counting you out for the fight.
Yeah, and so then I guess we kind of touched on it a little bit, but like so you're on a 3-fight win streak. If things were if you had the magic ball, what would you like to have happen next?
Well, I always saw like if in a perfect world, to end my amateur career, I've always wanted to win an amateur belt. That'd be kind of cool. Cause I've always thought like in this sport, like if you get a win, like people can be there and they can watch, like your friends and family, they can see you do it, and there's like videos or whatever, but you don't really have anything like to hold. Like you don't have anything to show people like, hey, like I'm good at this, and to prove it. And I always felt like if I had the belt, even for like once, and defended it and whatnot, I think that would be cool because I can like show people like, hey, like I'm good at this thing, I can like have credit to my craft. So I've always thought that that's what I wanted to do, is fight for the belt, and win it, and then defend it, however that may go, and then go pro. I've always wanted to go pro, at least one, go pro and see what happens from there. That's looking pretty far into it, but the end goal, become a professional fighter, and then see what happens after that. But that was prior to me pulling out of this fight. What I would reality and realistically, what will happen is, if the spark comes back, when it comes back, being optimistic, I'll hit him up and be like, can I come back? Would you guys give me a fight? And hopefully they say yes. I wouldn't even ask, nor would I expect them to give me back that title shot or whatever. If I have to win a fight, 2 fights, that's cool with me. I don't like, I'm not certainly owed that shot, nor, I don't think that at all. So I'm willing to, win a couple, to get back there, earn the trust back as well. So I'll do that, and then, try to keep the plane moving and fight for the belt, go pro. But, once that spark comes back, I'll ask for a fight, But all things have to sort of line up for that to happen. But that's what I would hopefully envision happening.
Well, yeah, being young and then with your experience and all that, you could take as a good chunk of time to just train and get motivated.
Yeah.
You have time, so that's good instead of.
And I'm not in any rush either. I know it's good to do this young and get a jump start, because it seems like the best fighters are like starting in middle school now and having that much experience, and then when they turn 18, they're world beaters already. So I know it's good to to do it young and whatnot and get a lot of experience, but I don't really like to put that pressure on me. I'll just do it. Do it when I feel like I'm ready, and do it when I want to do it. So
yeah,
when that happens, it'll go down.
I hear that. And were there any low points in your career so far that you have bounced back from, that you can maybe explain how you were able to do so?
Yeah, my first 2 losses were pretty rough. Like I said, the first loss I had against Ricky, he really beat me up, and that was in Norfolk. My first loss. A lot of people that came into that fight probably saw me for the first time, and that was pretty rough. And I remember as soon as I got out of the cage, friends and family were kind of circled around me and make sure I was alright, because I was really beat up. I was bleeding out my nose, my mouth, and stuff, and whatnot. But I was like, dude, just give me a second. Can you give me a second to recover? And I would, went up to the locker room area where I was at, and my teammate handed me this sponge. I just wiped my face off. It was just so bloody and stuff. And I remember I just bummed around the house for at least a couple days. I was pretty embarrassed about that loss. I just really got beat up. But now looking back on it, I don't really even mind that fight anymore, because I feel it showed a lot of heart. Because even though I got beat up pretty bad, I didn't really give up, and I tried to keep the fight going and whatnot. And I remember at least 2 fights on that same card, there were 2 fighters that didn't get off the stool in between rounds, and I got more beat up than all of them. So I was like, if you guys are gonna quit, what? You guys aren't built for this. So that one was pretty embarrassing at the time. But the one that was way more embarrassing was the fight after that. So I lost 2 in a row. A guy named what's his name? Can't remember. Sorry, bud, I can't remember. But what happened was that it was in Norfolk again for OFC. Bad luck with that place. But I think he was making his debut, so I think I don't know if they were throwing me a bone or whatever, but I probably should have been able to beat him. Bronson Griffin, that's his name, Bronson. I probably should have been able to beat him, but good on him. But I came out and he was throwing punches and I was blocking him and whatnot, and I think it was just kind of gunshot. I was kind of hesitant to do anything, and he kind of came in close and I shot in. He put me in a guillotine, and I tried to get out of it, but he put me to sleep, because I remember he definitely put me to sleep. I woke up looking at the ceiling and I was like, oh, what happened? Oh, fight was over. And I was like, wait, what happened? It's oh, I know what happened. You don't win and don't remember what happened. So that one was pretty rough. I think I actually, my friend Tony was cage side next to me after the fight. I was kind of getting my glove. I think I was getting my gloves off and stuff, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I got pretty down, You know, because that was a pretty embarrassing way to go out. And people, like, once I tell them I went to, like, I didn't tap and I went to sleep, they're like, oh, that's so cool. Dude, you went to sleep. That was so cool. I was like, well, I didn't choose to do it. I just don't remember.
Right.
I don't remember. I thought I was fighting it off, but.
A lot of times you don't think it's going to work.
No, yeah.
And then, yeah.
It's like people don't remember when they go to sleep at night either. It's like, it's that quick, you know? And then I'm like, well, I got suspended for 6 months after that as well. So, wasn't worth being cool, I guess. But how I bounced back from that was, so I was out for 6 months, and I was kind of like crying myself a river. But then, like, you know, sometime after that, I got back into the gym, and then my suspension was coming up, and I got a fight, and I even could tell in that fight I was pretty, like, I was rusty, and I was kind of gunshot still. I think I just don't know if I was over how bad I got beat up in my first loss. I think I was still kind of intimidated by that and didn't want that to happen again. But I got back and I won that fight. It went all 3 rounds, and you know, that felt good. You know, to win again, to be a winner. But every fight, you know, kind of sucks. I mean, not every fight. Every loss sucks. You know, I remember I lost. You know, I fought for the belt twice already, and I came up short. First against Brandon Trout, and that one just had some bad circumstances leading up to it. I sprained my foot, and then Brandon Trout came in and replaced the fighter I was supposed to, like, on a couple of days' notice. So that was like a whirlwind of emotions, but, you know, good on him for winning. No excuses or anything. And then Jason Scott, I fought him for the belt, and he, you know, really put it on me. He didn't, like, beat me up, per se, like the first loss I had, but he just, like, really neutralized me, and he just, like, he would do things that, like, even Nick Honstein was like, that's, like, some high-level stuff. Like, he would pick me up and, like, set me down in a way, like, I was never in his guard at all. He would, like, when he took me down, he would lift me up and, like, hold both my legs and, like, kind of put me in side control. Like, it was crazy. And I think I kind of, like, made him mad and stuff, because, like, when the announcer is, like, announcing our names, I was in there first because I'm the challenger, and he came in, so he announced my name first, but I always like to make eye contact with him, with my opponent, but the announcer was in my way, so I kind of, like, moved to the side, and I kept looking at him, and I think he was like, okay, you want to do that? So I stuck my hand out to touch gloves, and he touched, but he like slapped my hand down. I was like, oh no, he's mad at me now. So
right.
I was like, he kept hitting me. He was hitting me so hard. I was like, dude, why are you so mad? Like, I'm just, you know, it's only business.
Yeah, it's just business. But yeah, like, losing to Jason Scott is kind of like losing to Anderson Silva. You know what I mean? It's like, or losing to Habib or somebody like that. Like,
no, he's a little prodigy, and I got a lot of respect for him. So
for sure.
And he's a good guy too. Like, I've run
nice.
into him at events and stuff, and I say what's up to him. So he's like, he could be, like, he's the man in, like, bantamweight and flyweight. Like, he could take his pick, and he could be, like, a real jerk about it, knowing that, you know, not a lot of people could beat him, but he's a pretty humble guy. He's a nice guy, so shout out to him. But I think, like, after all my losses, I bounced back, and I just try not to get too discouraged. I think probably the fight that maybe means the most to me, in a way, is maybe the fight that I had after my 2 losses back to back. Even though that fight was pretty sloppy and I didn't perform that well, but I think it took a lot took a lot for me to win the fight and whatnot. So that one means a lot. And then I lost to Jason Scott, but after that I've won 3 in a row. So I just think, you know, having a setback, I just kind of have to collect myself and get back to the drawing board and, you know, do my thing, you know, and go out there and try to win.
For sure. And like you said, being on a 3-fight win streak, I don't know, I was going to ask you about, like, being on a high point, and then how did you, like, kind of manage that? But I'm thinking, like, you know, you have 3 fights in a row, and then you're scheduled for a title fight, and then you are not feeling it.
Yeah.
You know, versus possibly, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. Versus possibly not doing your best.
Yeah.
I feel like that's pretty bold and that's pretty real.
Yeah, I think it is a pretty real feeling. I think it's not something that people think about with like fighting and stuff. It takes a lot out of you to have to train and then like to compete. But you also have to cut weight as well, and that takes a lot. And I'm not complaining about that because that's just part of the job, and I've done that for like every fight. But it is a process having to cut weight and stuff. And if you're not into it, like your heart's not into it, and you're not driven to do it, it's just like you're not doing yourself any favors by forcing yourself to go and then competing when when your mindset isn't there, your heart's not there, your mind's not there to compete. Because I've been there at fights before where I sort of felt similar to how I'm feeling now, and the fight didn't go well. And that's not me blaming the loss on that, but I also don't think it helps. And if I could go back and like change that, I just might not have maybe taken the fight, maybe just done it when I'm ready, or just prepare myself in a better way. But I think it is a pretty real feeling, and probably other fighters feel it, but they just kind of push through it maybe better than I can. But I just don't think there's a point into pushing past this feeling and fighting when I'm not really ready or want to, when I can just sort of live my life, and then when I want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what I think.
No, I hear you. And then you said people were understanding and stuff like that. So
yeah, like
all good.
Yeah, I first talked to my coach, and he really reassured me because he was Nick Honson. He was a former pro fighter, and when he decided to hang him up, he kind of felt like everything that he was saying I was feeling on sort of a smaller level, because I'm an amateur and he was a pro and a successful one. But what he was saying I was relating to just on a smaller scale. So that kind of like reassured how I felt, and then I slept on it through the weekend after that, and then my feelings didn't change. So I talked to the promotion and whatnot, and I talked to Henry, and he was understanding about it. So I don't think that there's any hard feelings. Hopefully there's not, and when I'm ready to come back, hopefully they welcome me back with open arms.
For sure, man. Anything else you got going on?
No, I mean honestly right now I'm just trying to I'm just working and trying to stay a bit in shape, and just it's gonna be getting nice out, so just enjoying the weather. I'm gonna be moving soon, so I just got a lot of stuff. I got stuff going on, just living life. So yeah.
For sure. All right. Well, definitely. Thanks for coming on, and
thank you.
We'll have to do it again sometime.
Thank you. Hell yeah, let's do it.
All right. Thanks.